Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Coach Matt. I am here today with Coach Justin, and we are bringing you another Power Up Mindset Minute. Today, we're tackling a phrase I think we've probably all heard or all uttered ourselves at some point along the change process, which is I just need to try harder, or I just need to do it. Right? What can we change about this time? Nothing. I just need to do it. I just need to finally buckle down and do it and go harder and do better. And if you've ever felt that way, I'd be curious how that turned out for you, because of my experience. Maybe in the short term it worked out okay, but in the long term I ended up right back where I started. So Justin, what's been your experiences with this phrase, with this kind of mindset, and in your own experience or with your clients? What kinds of things does this bring up for you?
Yeah, it's definitely a trap I've fallen into quite a bit myself, like just to try harder. I think it's mostly because it feels like it makes the process easier. You don't have to think as much, and it's something that you can apply right away. It's like, if I just try harder, this thing will happen for me. And usually for me, it just leads to be burnout. That's what usually happens with me, is I just get extremely frustrated and burnt out, and it almost feels like nothing will work for me. So it's like, I'm trying as hard as I can and nothing works for me. So why even bother? That's kind of like the mindset that happens to me personally, and something that I've noticed with my clients as well too.
Yeah, that fast track to burnout is something I've definitely seen, and felt that way. Actually, I think you're going to get into a story for this, but when I was trying to learn Japanese, I studied Japanese 4 years in high school, 4 years in college, went abroad for a semester, and all the methods I've been taught in school, I felt like I was banging my head against the wall. So I kept trying to memorize the kanji, the Japanese characters, over and over again, and it wasn't working for me. And I couldn't believe how much time I'd spent and energy I'd spent. And I just felt like I was barely moving along, and it was really self-critical. And then I ended up finding a trick that worked for me, which I'll share later. But yeah, so that fast track to burnout, and just keep throwing yourself at a problem the same way over and over again. And it sucks, because we do try hard. We care, and we do try hard about these things. It's not like we don't care, right?
Right. I was gonna say it's a great problem to have if you're really ready, willing, and able to try harder. That says a lot about who you are and your character. That's a really good problem to have. I know for me, I feel like the try harder mentality is kind of it was ingrained in me as a kid growing up, from teachers and coaches. Even now, as I'm coaching clients and stuff like that, you're always told hey, great effort, you can do anything, which is awesome. It's true. We want to praise effort. It's very important, but not as a consolation prize when we're not actually learning anything. So if you're just trying harder and not reflecting on what's working well for you and what's not, that's when I think we can kind of start diving into some challenges with this. And do we have some time? I wanted to tell a story. I think people
tell a story. We got time.
Okay, cool. So I was reading some blogs and some research this week. Don't ask me why I was reading about the hunt rates of tigers, but I was. This will tell you about how big of a nerd I am. But I was reading that biologists tell us that tigers are 10% successful on a hunt rate when they go out by themselves. That's terrible. 1 out of 10 times they're successful. But instead of trying harder when they go by themselves, what they do is they rig the game so they can win. They make it easier for them to be successful by going out in packs, and it bumps it up to 30. And it's not perfect, but that's a big that's a big upgrade. You and Steve talked about the dials. You're turning that dial up, and if you're more successful now, 3 out of 10 versus 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
That
feels better. Less hungry.
Tiger eaten. Exactly. So I think that's kind of important, versus always trying to try harder. Just stepping back and reflecting and just asking yourself, hey, how can I make this easier for me to do? How can I rig the game so that I can win? And you guys have given great examples, whether it's if you're having a hard time with like junk food, maybe keeping it out of the house or making it harder to get to, getting your workouts and turning it back. That 60-minute workout turns into, a movement snack or something along those lines. Again, is it perfect? No, but we're kind of building momentum there versus just trying harder and reflecting and seeing how we can rig the game so we can win.
Yeah, so it seems like the big thing is that moment of reflection. If your gut response is, I just need to try harder, maybe we're skipping a step, which is backing up, understanding like how we're feeling in that moment, because that's super important. Just being like, man, I'm feeling so frustrated. I just want to keep I'm ready to do the work. So backing up and then thinking, okay, how can I rig the game? Is it setting up the environment in a different way, like you were saying, like, hey, hard to eat junk food. If it best defense, don't be there, right? It's not there. Or is it joining a pack, so like tapping into the resources of the nerd fitness community, or a coach or a friend or someone who could help? Or is it trying out like a different strategy maybe than you've tried in the past, right? Which brings me back to my Japanese. So literally 8 years of schooling. And then I ended up living in Japan for a couple of years. And while I was there, found this book that was like a counterintuitive approach to learning the characters. And basically it took the different elements of the Japanese characters and broke them down so each little element had a meaning. And you would build little stories. So it became like a mnemonic device, basically. And in 6 months, I learned more characters than I had in 8 years of formal schooling. So it was like, once I took a step back and was like, I'm not going to just keep doing these flashcards. I'm not going to keep doing these things. I'm going to try something different and see if I can make this easier for myself by trying a different approach. Then that's when I was able to build momentum finally. I was able to be like, oh, you know what? And it wasn't like it was instant. It was just like, oh, you know what? This one's easier to remember now, so I can see this little thing. So maybe for you, it might not be learning a language. Maybe it's like, oh, you know what? Before, I would not have gotten any workout in because I wouldn't be able to fit that 60 minutes in. But now I was able to get this 5-minute movement snack in. So I can notice that's different, right, with this new strategy. Or, oh, that the pull-up bar is now hanging in my door frame. So every time I walk by, I hang from it. That's different, right? You can just start noticing those things that are different when you try something and make it easy on yourself. Like, ultimately, we want to take the hard stuff and make it easy. Right? Like in the long run, it's not that it's not going to be hard, but that if you can get to that point where you make the hard stuff feel easy, then you're going to be in a great place, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think just like you mentioned it right there, just like that subtle awareness, not judging yourself, not fighting it, just observing it, and then kind of asking yourself how you can make the process a little bit easier on yourself. Failure is inevitable. We're always going to fail, even if we get really, really good at something. It's always inevitable. So just kind of accepting that, just asking ourselves how we can rig the game so we can win, and setting up ourselves for success. And one of my favorite things to do is, taking those big, lofty goals and just chunking them down. You and Steve have talked about this, and it's all over the Nerd Fitness blog and stuff. But breaking down that big goal into actionable practices that you can control.
This sounds like another video, Justin.
Yeah, exactly.
We could do a whole thing on this.
Yep.
All right, so recap. Tigers hunt better in packs. Make the game easier for yourself. If you have that gut instinct that you just need to try harder or just do it, I just need to do it this time, then you might be skipping a step and wanting to skip over that reflection that could lead you down some really cool paths and trying some new experiments. So give it a try and let us know how it goes. Thanks, everyone.